What's up, everybody? Welcome to the HexxedPhenom Gamescast, the show that brings you the video game news you need to know each and every week. It goes live every Saturday on youtube.com/HexxedPhenom and on podcast services around the globe, places like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, really any podcast service of your choosing. If there is a podcast service of your choosing and our podcast is not there, please let us know, and I will try my best to get it there. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Wojcik, aka HexxedPhenom, and I'm joined by the abstract rocker, JP. JP, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, sir. We are back for round two. And as said before, I dunked my head. And here we are. We had to switch it up a little bit, you know, so it's the same podcast, but new stories. And
Yep. If you guys didn't know, if you guys missed last night's late night episode of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast, basically last week we missed an upload of an episode because I couldn't record or really do anything. I had a cable on my external hard drive fail, so I had to wait to get that delivered from Amazon. So what happened is last night we recorded, well, last night as you guys are watching this, we recorded 2 episodes of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast right in a row. We split up all the news stories from the last 2 weeks. And so we uploaded one last night that was all about GTA 6. There was some news stories about Nintendo, about the Nintendo Direct, and the Bowser guy, the Bowser hacker getting arrested, and all that good stuff. So definitely go and check that out. And then this is your second episode for the week, so that we're all caught up on the news. And then next Saturday we'll be back on schedule with the Gamescast. But in today's Gamescast, we're going to jump right into it because we already talked about what we were playing. We've got some information on, I would say, probably one of the biggest news stories that we missed, and that is Sony has acquired Bungie for $3.6 billion.
My God.
But in an interesting turn of events, right away they announced that Destiny 2 and Bungie in general will remain a multi-platform studio. So we'll get into it. There's a couple of different articles about it. Sony acquiring Bungie, creators of Destiny, in $3.6 billion deal. Destiny 2 will remain multi-platform, Bungie says. This is by Michael McWhorter over at Polygon. Sony is buying Bungie, the developer of Destiny 2 and the studio that originally created Halo, in a deal worth $3.6 billion, Sony Interactive Entertainment announced Monday. Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio. Destiny 2 is available on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox platforms. With the option to self-publish its games, the studio will remain independent and multi-platform and will enjoy creative freedom, and their track record in developing massively successful franchises in the sci-fi shooter genre will be highly complementary to SIE's own IP portfolio, SIE President Jim Ryan explained in a statement. Quote, "We will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games," Pete Parsons, CEO and chairman of Bungie, added in a statement. "We will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Our games will continue to be where our community is, wherever they choose to play." Bungie addressed concerns from the Destiny 2 player base in an FAQ about the new deal, promising that nothing will change about the game's availability on existing platforms. In a graphic outlining Bungie and PlayStation's shared vision, Bungie said, quote, "Destiny 2 will stay on all current platforms and expand to new platforms. Bungie maintains full creative control and publishing independence of the Destiny universe. Same game everywhere. Every player should have an amazing Destiny experience no matter where you choose to play." Parsons said of the deal, quote, "In SIE, we have found a partner who unconditionally supports us in all we are and who wants to accelerate our vision to create generation-spanning entertainment, all while preserving the creative independence that beats in Bungie's heart. Like us, SIE believes that the game worlds are only the beginning of what our IPs can become. Together, we share a dream of creating and fostering iconic franchises that unite friends around the world, families across generations, and fans across multiple platforms and entertainment mediums." Parsons said that, quote, "The most immediate effect of the deal is, quote, an acceleration in hiring talent across the entire studio to support our ambitious vision," end quote. In addition to ongoing development of Destiny 2, Bungie has other unannounced projects in the works. In 2018, the developer announced it would begin the creation of new worlds alongside a $100 million investment from Chinese internet and games giant NetEase. Bungie has more than 900 current employees. Quote, "Bungie's technical expertise, coupled with their track record of building highly engaged communities, makes them a natural fit for collaboration with PlayStation Studios," said Herman Holst, head of PlayStation Studios. Quote, "We are excited to make plans to share skills and expertise and to unlock the potential in having the brilliant minds of Bungie under the PlayStation roof. Quote, I believe that Bungie joining the PlayStation family will increase the capabilities of PlayStation Studios and of Bungie and achieve our vision of expanding PlayStation to hundreds of millions of gamers. For game creators, that's always our goal, to bring our vision to as many as possible. Sony's acquisition of Bungie comes amid a flurry of studio and publisher acquisitions, leading to massive consolidation in 2022 and beyond. Earlier this month, Grand Theft Auto and Borderlands publisher Take-Two Interactive announced its plans to acquire Zynga, the mobile and social games giant, for $12.7 billion. Shortly after, Microsoft, a one-time owner of Bungie, announced its plans to acquire Activision Blizzard and a long list of intellectual property that includes Call of Duty, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft for $68.7 billion. PlayStation Studios has been aggressively expanding its roster over the past few years, adding Demon's Souls remake studio Bluepoint, Returnal developer Housemarque, The Playroom developer Firesprite, and PC port specialist Nixxes Software to its ranks. Last year, Sony also made investments in Discord and acquired the Evo fighting game tournament organization. So, JP, a lot to unpack there, and there's a couple other articles about the Sony Bungie acquisition. But right off the bat, what are your thoughts?
I'm not really I don't really play a lot of games that are from Bungie, so I'm just kind of here oh, it's a pretty damn good acquisition, you know. I do wonder if I'm wondering if that was their response to Microsoft taking Activision Blizzard. I'm assuming you're going to start seeing a lot of this now.
I would say no, because these deals are, talked about so far in advance that there's no way that this deal could have come up within a week after the acquisition. I think this deal had to have been in conversation for months ahead of time, and it's just so happens that they both announced around the same time. The whole games industry is just in a period of acquisitions and acquirements and all that good stuff. So, well, I don't know if I would say it's good necessarily, but all that stuff, I guess I should say.
Man, it's definitely quite an acquisition. I mean, obviously everyone thinks Halo is going to start coming. I mean, Halo would come to PlayStation anyway, but I don't think Bungie owns the rights to Halo anymore, right?
Bungie does not own Halo, no. They created it, but they don't own the IP.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I could still see Halo coming just because it's going to happen. I mean, people are going to say it won't, but it will. If money has anything to say about it, it will. Always comes down to it. But I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. What other games does Bungie exactly do? Well, they did, what was that other Halo knockoff?
Destiny.
That was it. Yeah, they made that. Is there any other games they make that I might recognize other than Destiny?
No, they've done the only thing. I mean, they made a game before Halo. I don't remember what it's called. I don't even know if they own that IP though. I assume they do, but they did Halo since 2001 with Microsoft. They did Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST Reach, and then they were done with Halo. And then they left Microsoft, and then that's when they did Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. And then they've been updating Destiny 2 ever since then. So, I mean, as they said, Destiny 2 is going to stay multi-platform, so I didn't really expect that to change. And Destiny 2 had already been getting some PlayStation exclusive stuff here and there already, so I assume that'll continue, obviously. The only other thing the thing that interests me is I wonder if in the future, if we'll see Bungie make an original first-person shooter just for PlayStation. Because PlayStation does have a lack of variety in their exclusive games library, I will say. Almost all of their big games from their big studios are third-person, over-the-shoulder action-adventure games of some type, whether it be a shooter or whether it be melee combat like God of War or Spider-Man, or almost all of their games are very much the same genre. So I would definitely be interested to see a first-person shooter just for PlayStation that comes from Bungie. But, I mean, like this says, apparently Bungie is maintaining independence. So we'll see when it comes to publishing and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But the next article, Sony, with Bungie's help, is to launch more than 10 live service games by 2026. This is from Michael McWhorter over at Polygon. PlayStation will expand its online multiplayer reach well beyond Destiny. Sony Interactive Entertainment may be best known for its marquee single-player focused games like God of War and The Last of Us, Spider-Man, Uncharted, and Horizon these days, but the PlayStation company has big plans to expand its live service online multiplayer offerings, and the recent acquisition of Destiny developer Bungie will be an important component in that strategy, Sony says. Quote, the strategic significance of this acquisition lies not only in obtaining the highly successful Destiny franchise, as well as major new IP that Bungie is currently developing, Sony Executive Deputy President and CFO Hiroki Totoki said in an interview, in an investor presentation via Eurogamer on Wednesday, quote, but also in incorporating into the Sony group the expertise and technologies that Bungie has developed in the live game service space. We intend to utilize these strengths when developing game IP at PlayStation Studios as we expand into the live game service area. Quote, through close collaboration between Bungie and the PlayStation Studios, we aim to launch more than 10 live service games by the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. Totoki didn't specify which titles or properties would be included in that 10-game, 4-year span, but his comment aligned with how Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan recently spoke of the acquisition of Bungie. Quote, the way people play games has changed a lot over the last few years, Ryan said in an interview with Games Industry. Quote, we have created some wonderful properties over the course of the last 25 years, with characters that people love and resonate the world over. Offering the opportunity to enjoy those experiences in a completely different way is something that we are excited about. I can't go into details today, but we have a really amazing roadmap on how to do that. The way to do that clearly is with the aid of Bungie, but has grown and maintained Destiny 2 across multiple generations and hardware platforms over the past 4.5 years for millions of players. Added Ryan, when you have the potential to have a partner like Bungie who has been there, done it all before, learned the lessons, and have got this wonderful, brilliant team who is there and has potential to help us, we think we could take something that would have taken us a certain number of years and significantly decrease the time it will take to get it right. While Bungie will continue to grow Destiny 2, two major expansions, The Witch Queen and Lightfall, are still on the way. The studio also has irons in the fire. With previous financial backing from NetEase, Bungie is also reportedly developing a new multiplayer action game with a potential hero focus a la Overwatch or Valorant. That game may be named Matter based on a trademark filing back in 2018. As for PlayStation Studios, Sony's internal teams have a few other live service candidates in the works. Naughty Dog is supposedly working on a multiplayer follow-up for the... Actually, no, this isn't supposedly. Naughty Dog is working on a multiplayer follow-up for The Last of Us Part 2, and an internal Sony studio is reportedly making a new Twisted Metal. Sony is also partnering with two newly formed independent studios, ex-Treyarch devs Dave Anthony and Jason Blundell's Deviation Games, and Jade Raymond's Haven Studios to develop new properties for PlayStation.
God, I'm sorry, Jason Blundell's return.
Hell yeah, dude. Do you think, well, I mean, not to get off track of the major news story, but just as a quick ask, do you think that game will have some sort of zombies-esque mode?
I'd like to think that it will. It's kind of like a legal thing. It's not going to be able to be anything like COD Zombies. I think it should have some form of zombies. In fact, like I would love to see if I'm assuming the contracts are all fine and dandy now, where Jason Blundell could just come and talk about what he had planned for zombies. I would like to know what he had planned. I mean, I know he's been popping up on Dalek's channel and shit like that one time where he turned the fucking chair and he's sitting there. I'm like,
that wasn't Dalek. That was JC Backfire.
Oh, that was JC Backfire.
The reason they did that is because JC actually works for Deviation Games now. So JC is a YouTuber, but he also works as the social media manager for Deviation Games.
Wow. I just, as soon as the chair turned around and Jason Blundell's just staring at the screen, I'm like, are you going to tell me what I need to know? Like,
well, that was also because that was the day before the E3 presentation where Blundell showed up to announce the Deviation Games thing with PlayStation.
Wow, so I think it's cool knowing he's doing it. I'm assuming there has to be some kind of zombies lore, some kind of crazy story. There's gonna have to be zombies. I mean, God, if Call of Duty ever made that zombies game, they should just bring Blundell back for one fucking game. Maybe Deviation Games could be a support studio for that. I don't know. It's just it'd be a missed opportunity if they didn't do that. But obviously the zombies game is going to happen. I'm assuming it just comes down to what engine they want to put it in. but I don't know. It's just cool seeing Blundell back. It really is. It's always been cool to see him ever since he randomly fucking popped up in like 2012 in Black Ops 2, and then next thing you know, they're making Mob of the Dead, and we're like, wow, this is what we need. And then it
Yeah.
turned into Jimmy Zielinski and Blundell, who could do it better, and we clearly know who did it better. So I don't know. Yeah, that's cool. We'll have to see. And like, I'm still skeptical on that Twisted Metal game. If it's gonna be just like that other random game that studio put out,
Well, I don't remember if we covered it on the Gamescast, but apparently it's moved to a different studio now. So it's not being made by whoever made Destruction All Stars. I can't remember their name right now. It's not being made by them anymore. It moved on to a different studio now.
Oh, that's great. Okay, I feel a little better now. The only thing is with these live, wait, what's it called? The
Live service games.
Okay, isn't this like? See, the only thing that I fear about live service gaming is that it's basically a ruse, just like DLC is held off from the core game, but now instead of that, you get a piece of the puzzle and then another piece and another piece and another. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Like,
mean that's the nature of it nowadays.
it's just I don't know. I just feel like it encourages laziness because they know they can get away with it now, and people enable that. So I hate those people that enabled it because like Battle Royale, it's like there's people responsible for that first taking off, and I hope they enjoy what they created. But um, yeah, those live kind of things, I don't know how the hell that's gonna go. Like if it better be free or it better be very cheap, or else I'm not.
I think it'll depend on the game and the amount of work that went into it. I think there's going to be varying levels of these games. Some of them might be full price. Some of them might be free to play. Some of them might be cheaper than a regular game. Some of them, see, 10 seems like a lot, especially considering I don't remember how many studios PlayStation has. I think Bungie puts it to 20 something. Let me see. But like for 10 new live service games to come out in 4 years, like that seems like a lot. So I think they also could just mean like multiplayer modes for existing games, or like games that come out with both single player and multiplayer modes or something. I don't know. It all depends on what they consider live service, because live service is such an ambiguous term nowadays. It's like one of the buzzwords in the games industry right now. I feel like almost any game that has a multiplayer component that is planned to be updated in the slightest is called like a live service game. So it really depends on what their definition of the term means. Because 10 does seem like a lot. Like, even if they all cater to different audiences and stuff, like, it still seems like a lot. And like the Naughty Dog, Last of Us Factions 2 or whatever ends up being called, there's going to be a core audience for that. I don't know if it's going to be free to play or what that's going to be. I'm sure there's going to be, I mean, anything Naughty Dog is going to have basically a built-in audience. Twisted Metal, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Like you said, I'm a little bit more interested now that it's to a different studio, but still a little shaky on that one. But that leaves what, like 7 or 8? That, I mean, I assume maybe Bungie's new game might be one of those 10, but like that leaves like 7 games that we have no idea what they could be.
I don't know. I just hope they do well with the pricing of these because, for example, Far Cry is a live version of a game, which it seems like it's going to be. I'm sure as hell not paying you $60 to play a game that's get done in not that much time. Like I'd pay maybe 20, but if you're going to be giving me pieces of this damn game over a whole year, I'm certainly not paying $70. I mean, I'm just a little weary about the future of gaming for that reason, because I just feel like people, I don't know, it's funny because it's like people say that they want it this way, but then they'll get it and say they don't want it, and I don't know, it could get very gray. I hope we stay
Definitely.
in the black and white category and not gray, because that's where it gets very weird.
The one thing that worries me, and I will say, like, Destiny 2 is such a great game in some places, and also such a horrible game to me in other ways. I know there are some people that absolutely love it to death, but for me, like, it plays great and it's a lot of fun to play. But the thing that has always turned me off from Destiny even since the first game is, and this happened again with Destiny 2, so it seems to just, and it's just where the industry's gone, is Destiny 1 came out, there was complaints that it was bare, there was almost no content, there was nothing to do. They slowly, over the course of however many years it was, 2-3 years, put out expansion after expansion, updated, put all this content in, and then when Destiny 2 launched, it was just as barren as Destiny 1 was when it launched. And so then they went through the whole cycle again of slowly updating it, and every year a new expansion comes out. And the thing that irks me is that every single year they put out a new big expansion, and it is almost always at least $40 to $60 for this new expansion. Like, I'm not paying you an extra $60 every single year to continue playing your game. And like, I know that sounds stupid coming from somebody who's a Call of Duty fan who does pay $60 every year to play the next Call of Duty. But like, I don't know, just the business model of Destiny always put me off, because on top of paying $60 for the new expansion every year, they also will charge you $10 every couple months. Try to charge you $10 every couple months for each, new season. So for battle passes, and then, on top of that, there's still microtransactions and everything. And like, again, I know Call of Duty does all that same stuff, so it sounds hypocritical, but I don't know. For Destiny 2, it's still the same game. Like, the new content is just a variation on the same thing you've already been playing for 4 years. Like, it's still go here, shoot this enemy, do this raid. And like, granted, I'm not a high level Destiny player. Like, I'm not super deep down, like, in the shit of it. So I don't really know like how different the content is, but like, I think out of all the expansions, only the most recent one, which was Forsake. No, I don't know. I don't know anything about Destiny, to be honest with you. But whatever the most recent one was, Beyond Light, maybe, I don't know, was the first one that actually had a new enemy type in it since Destiny 1. All the other expansions had been reusing old enemy types and stuff like that. So it's like, and you're charging me $60 for that every year? I don't know. Granted, maybe I'm just not into Destiny enough. Maybe I just don't get it. I don't know. But I really hope they don't try to follow this business model for their other live service games where they're trying to charge me $60 to continue to play it every year. Because that's the thing, is like, sure, you can keep playing Destiny 2. Like, you can play it still without buying the expansions, but you're not getting any new content, like, at all. Like, not a single new gun, not a single new piece of armor, nothing. No story missions. Like, you get absolutely nothing.
It's just, this is going to be quite interesting to see where everything goes.
That is my one worry with this, is if they're looking at Bungie's expertise in live service games, that they might try to pull shit like this. That I'm not a fan of. But other than that, like, I don't necessarily mind the idea of getting a couple of like PlayStation live service games just to expand their portfolio and have something other than just your third person over the shoulder action adventure game. But I don't know. Before we move on to, I think there's one more article about Sony and Bungie, but before we move on to that, GP, just for fun, just for the memes, do you have any predictions or like a wish list kind of thing? What PlayStation property do you think they should turn into a multiplayer game?
Well, that's a pretty hard one, because I don't know what exactly is full PlayStation property that hasn't been already turned into a multiplayer game.
Well, okay, well, there's Uncharted, but they've had multiplayer modes in the past.
Spyro would be a cool one.
Well, that's owned by Microsoft now, potentially.
Yeah,
so there's the big ones right now, not talking about like not going too deep in the well. The big ones right now would probably be Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us Part 2, which we already kind of know we're getting, God of War, Spider-Man, Wolverine when that comes out, Twisted Metal, like I said, we've already heard about. Potentially like one of the Souls games like Bloodborne or Demon Souls.
Demon Souls.
What else? Those are like the big ones I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, just because I'm me, I would not prefer it over just a new single player game, but I would be interested to see Insomniac's take on a Spider-Man multiplayer game. I don't know how the fuck that would work, but I think it would be fun.
I don't really know any other options that would be interesting. So you know what? I think that'd be a pretty damn cool idea to see Spider-Man as a multiplayer game.
They could do it like a whole Spider-Verse thing. It'd be interesting. I don't think it would. I mean, I'm sure if anybody could figure out how to make it play well, it's Insomniac, but I would still just prefer single player story focused games for those games. Maybe like a co-op mode. Like I would definitely fuck with a co-op mode in Spider-Man, but I wouldn't want like a full-on like 6v6 like multiplayer, like stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't play well when you just have 12 people fucking swinging around a city, but we'll see what happens. But JP, the last article about this here Sony Bungie acquisition is actually kind of about Microsoft and Sony.
Oh boy.
This is an analysis from Polygon. Microsoft and Sony acquisitions are just the start of massive video game industry consolidation. 2022 started with the announcement of 3 major buyouts building on a spendy 2021. This is by Nicole Carpenter over at Polygon. Within the span of 1 month, 3 major video game companies made seismic acquisitions that are changing the shape of the industry. First, it was Grand Theft Auto publisher Take-Two Interactive buying mobile giant Zynga for $12.7 billion, which at the time was the biggest acquisition in the games industry history. Just over a week later, Microsoft announced plans to buy Activision Blizzard in a deal worth $68.7 billion, more than 5 times the size of Take-Two's record-breaking acquisition. And to round out January, Microsoft competitor Sony announced its new purchase, Destiny 2 developer Bungie, for $3.6 billion. Industry consolidation isn't new, but the speed at which major companies are buying out other major companies in deals worth billions appears to be ramping up. Acquisitions beget acquisitions as companies compete with each other in size, exclusivity, and financial potential. The trend won't end here, though. Government regulators will need to scrutinize these deals before they become official. Fewer and fewer companies will soon own all of gaming's biggest franchises. Quote, usually acquisitions lead to more acquisitions, end quote, Lightshed Ventures analyst and partner Brandon Ross told Polygon in January. Following the Microsoft announcement, you're going to see that competitive publishers and studios are now in play. The question is, who can buy them? End quote. It certainly seems like these companies aren't done buying up the market. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz following the Bungie deal, Sony Interactive CEO Jim Ryan said there are, quote, more moves to make at Sony with regards to acquisitions. Quote, we should absolutely expect more, Ryan said. Quote, we are by no means done with PlayStation. We have a long way to go. Ryan, for his part, said the Bungie acquisition, quote, has nothing to do with industry consolidation. Financials across the top companies point towards more acquisitions, too. Microsoft spent just over half of its cash on hand as of September 2021 to buy Activision Blizzard, meaning it's still hoarding $60 billion in cash. The video games industry is making a lot of money. The companies see consolidation as a way to make more. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is one clear demonstration. The purchase will give Microsoft access to the publisher's suite of video games, everything from Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, to Candy Crush and Crash Bandicoot. These bolster Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass subscription service, the quote Netflix of games, and ensures that Microsoft continuously has new and appealing content. While Microsoft intends to keep Activision Blizzard games on Sony's platforms in the near future, exclusivity could be an option when current contracts expire, giving people one more reason to potentially choose Xbox over PlayStation. Decision-making behind the Take-Two and Zynga deal, as well as Sony's Bungie acquisition, likely follow similar threads. More money means more content, and more content means more players. This week, Sony Executive Deputy President and Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki said Sony is interested in Bungie's expertise in games as a service. Quote, through close collaboration between Bungie and PlayStation Studios, we aim to launch more than 10 live service games by fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026, he said. There's no doubt these mergers will have an impact on the industry, though the extent of that change isn't yet clear. There are questions around what a move towards larger consolidated companies might do to developer culture, where small studios could lose their identity upon corporate governance. What does it all mean for independent studios that don't have the marketing budget of the top companies? Does this acquisition trend signal that the companies are looking forward to a, quote, metaverse, an unclear term whose future and actual value remain hazy? What happens if the industry is monopolized by a few major publishers? What if those publishers also own gaming's largest platforms? Regardless of the answers to those questions, the industry has been moving towards further consolidation for years. A yearly investment review from the market research firm DDM detailed 220 mergers and acquisitions deals through 2020, a 33% increase from the previous year. There are major acquisitions like Microsoft buying ZeniMax Media and Bethesda Softworks in an $8.1 billion deal, another massive play for exclusivity on Game Pass. Microsoft's purchase of Minecraft publisher Mojang for $2.5 billion happened in 2014, and EA bought Codemasters in 2020 for $1.2 billion. EA spent even more, $2.1 billion, to buy mobile company Glue Mobile in 2021. Even streaming giant Netflix is expanding in this area, purchasing Oxenfree developer Night School Studios in 2021.
Games.
While Sony, Chinese game company Tencent, and Microsoft, should the Activision Blizzard buyout go through, are three of the biggest companies in the industry based on revenue, they clearly aren't the only ones trying to solidify their size and growth. Sony bought Housemarque in 2021, its 13th internal studio, and Tencent feels like it has a stake in everything. But from Riot Games to Epic Games to Back 4 Blood developer Turtle Rock and Don't Starve developer Klee Entertainment, Swedish video game holding company Embracer Group is gobbling up studios and publishers, and now owns 76 of them under 8 different groups, including Saber Interactive, Gearbox Software, and Perfect World Entertainment. As these sorts of mergers and acquisitions increase, government agencies like the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice will review deals to prevent monopolization. There are still months ahead or even a year until the biggest of these deals will be finalized. On the entertainment side, large deals have been safer for companies, as evidenced by Discovery's acquisition of Warner Media and Disney's purchase of 21st Century Fox. But big tech is facing more scrutiny as regulators adjust antitrust enforcement against companies like Meta, Facebook's parent company, and Google. FTC Chair Lena Khan is heading up the push to regulate digital market mergers and market consolidation. Video game companies blur the line between entertainment and tech, but their focus on securing a future in the metaverse may push these deals closer to the tech territory. All right, so I know that was a big one, JP. That was a lot.
That was a whole lot of shit. Some I knew and some I didn't, but the merger is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So it's probably the next video game movement, to be honest with you, but it's going to come down to who has the biggest ego of them all. I mean, it's probably where
I don't even think it's going to be ego necessarily. I think it's going to be who has the biggest wallet of them all. And it seems like that's going to be as of right now, I think that's going to be a battle between Tencent and Microsoft. But I mean, if an Apple or a Google really starts to take gaming seriously, which Google tried with Stadia, but I mean, well, we see how that went. But like if they went far enough as to start gobbling up game studios, we could really see some fucking crazy shit happening. And I hope that it doesn't go that way, but
they'll be like, well, let me tell you about my massive wallet.
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, you know. Like honestly, the gamers could win in this scenario, or we could all lose because it's all.
I think honestly, like, not to be cynical, but I think it's probably more than likely we lose, because even if like the actual games themselves still end up being good and stuff like that, like inevitably you're gonna lose out on some games that you loved. Like, there's inevitably going to come to a point where, say, the next Crash Bandicoot game is only on Xbox, or the next Spyro is only on Xbox, and that's going to fucking suck. And maybe there will inevitably come a point where maybe Destiny 3, if that becomes a thing, might not be on other platforms. It might just be PlayStation or, you know, what have you. And it does kind of fucking suck as like I don't want to feel forced to buy an Xbox to play games that I used to play on my PlayStation all the time. And like even the other way around, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to, as an Xbox player, I wouldn't want to have to buy a PlayStation to continue playing Destiny or to whatever. So it's like, it's just, man. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We're really just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I mean, exclusivity, I understand the reason for it, but I think overall, as much as great as some of the exclusive games we've gotten are throughout the years, like I do think in general it's bad for the industry, and making almost everything exclusive to one side or the other is going to make things a lot worse, I think. But I get it. It's business. It's the name of the game. It's unfortunate, but it seems like analysts are saying we are only just now in the early stages of gaming consolidation. So we'll see what happens. And I mean, I figure, I guess it was inevitable considering how expensive games are to make now, that like these studios need funding from a bigger parent company. But
man, it's getting interesting. Like, it's crazy knowing that, where video games started, and then there was like the golden years, like in the 80s, and then the 90s became like the solidified era of everything taking off. And then the 2000s were like a launch pad. The 2010s were basically head-to-head battles, and now the 2020s are, hey, we need money, but we don't have it, so we're gonna just sign to these people, like artists, to a label. And it's just an interesting way that gaming's taken, and I mean, I really think we're all gonna lose in the end, unless you want to buy every goddamn console. I mean, you'd be my guess to do that, but
a lot of people can't afford to do that. That's the thing. A lot of people can barely afford to buy one console, let alone three.
Yep, you're gonna need the Switch for this. Yep, you're gonna need the Xbox. Yep, you need the PlayStation for that.
And I understand exclusive games have always been a thing, but it's gotten more and more prevalent, and like as we're seeing moving forward, like we're gonna keep seeing more and more. Like up until like for the longest time, PlayStation only had like maybe 10 studios working on exclusive stuff, until they started to kind of expand a little bit more towards like the start of the PS4 generation until now. And Xbox didn't have like a stable of exclusive studios. They had like, in terms of exclusive studios to Xbox, there was Turn 10, who makes Forza Motorsport. There was Playground Games, who made Forza Horizon. And then there was Bungie, but then they let them go. Then there was 343, who took over Halo. And that was pretty much it. Like,
that's basically it. That's all she wrote.
They slowly started to expand from there, but like they didn't have much. Like a lot of their exclusive games were just contracts they bought out from third-party studios to make a game exclusive on their platform, like Dead Rising and that stuff. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting. And the weird thing to me is that this is the craziest thing about all this to me. Well, maybe not the craziest, but I just thought it was an interesting thing, is that literally the reason that Activision was created back in the fucking 70s or whenever the hell it started was because they were the first ever third-party game developer, because they were sick of having to be exclusive to either Atari or I don't know what the hell other consoles were out at the time, but they were sick of the developers that started in Activision were sick of only being able to make games for one platform and being like locked into what Atari wanted to do, or I don't know, the Commodore, but I don't know what the hell other console was out at the time. But so a couple developers left and they started Activision so that they could publish games on whatever platform they wanted to. And now that very same fucking company is now a first-party exclusive studio to Microsoft. The company that was created because they didn't want to put games exclusively on one platform is now heading to that same fate.
It's kind of
That's fucking crazy.
It's funny knowing that their name is Activision and they're acting pretty damn good right now. Yep, guys, yep. Yep, freedom to the players. Yep. Hey, some Microsoft coming. Yep.
But But JP, speaking of the Microsoft and Activision acquisition, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard will be reviewed by the FTC. The organization's stricter new stance could make this process a lot more difficult. This is by Austin Goslin over at Polygon. Microsoft's massive deal to acquire Activision Blizzard could face a difficult review process. The Federal Trade Commission will review the deal rather than the Justice Department, according to a report by Bloomberg. The deal, which Microsoft expects to close by the end of fiscal quarter 4 2023, will see Microsoft gain control of major franchises like Call of Duty, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, and Overwatch. Microsoft has stated that it plans to keep releasing many of these games on Sony's platform, at least as long as the current contract agreements are in place, but the potential remains for Xbox to shut its competitor out of some of the biggest gaming franchises in the world should the deal go through. While both of these U.S. regulatory bodies are in charge of reviewing acquisitions, one generally takes the lead, and in this case, that will be the FTC, headed up by Lina Khan. Both the FTC and the Justice Department have promised to be harsher on big tech, but Khan has been particularly outspoken in her opposition against potential monopolies. Microsoft closed a similar but smaller deal to acquire Bethesda early last year, but the deal's process started under the previous administration's regulatory bodies and concluded before Khan and her stricter stance arrived. Microsoft's deal isn't the only gaming acquisition in the last couple of weeks either. On Monday, Sony announced that it is acquiring Bungie, the studio behind Destiny, in a $3.6 billion deal that will be subject to government approval, though the process is likely to be a little less complicated because the deal is significantly smaller. Large-scale acquisitions of this type have typically been safe on the entertainment side, with moves like Discovery's acquisition of Warner Media expected to go through, but Microsoft's involvement and the frequent use of terms like metaverse could turn this into a tech issue, which could promptly close scrutiny from Khan's FTC. While all of these factors are likely to make the acquisition more difficult and questionable, for Microsoft, we likely won't know whether or not the Activision Blizzard deal will go through until several months from now, if not next year. So, JP, it sounds like Microsoft has an interesting road ahead of them on this acquisition. A much harder one than maybe they originally thought. I don't know.
God only knows what the hell happens from here. Anything could happen, really.
Yeah.
I really think Activision's gonna just stay with what they're doing. Because honestly, if this is, I don't know, like this could easily create a whole damn console war that's not even gonna work. It's like maybe by having a minority of the whole thing, they're gonna be like, well, or a monopoly, I should say, not minority. That's the gamers. That's us. We are the minority. We're pretty fucked, I'm sure. But they could easily figure this out where it works out for everybody, because it kind of has to go that way now, because if there's going to be conflicts, you're basically just dividing people, and you're going to really piss people off. And if you're trying to make money, you kind of don't want to do that, but sometimes you can't please everybody, so that's
Yeah.
I just I don't know.
Yeah. And see, it's tough for me because, like, on one hand, I almost don't want the deal to go through because, and it's for a selfish reason. It's because I don't want to have to worry about Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or Tony Hawk or any of those games going exclusive to Xbox. But on the other hand, like, I almost want the deal to go through only because I feel like it's the only reason that, or the only way that the company will get rid of Bobby Kotick anytime soon. Like, if this deal doesn't go through, I feel like he's just going to stay on for years to come at this point.
Bobby Kotick
so, like,
retire. He'll be like, well, they're get going now.
So, on one hand, it's like, selfishly, as someone who doesn't own an Xbox, like, I mean, granted, I have a PC, so I'm sure almost all those games will be on Game Pass there anyways, but, like, I don't want to see those games go exclusive, but also I don't want to see Bobby Kotick fucking staying at Activision for any longer than he has to. I still think they should have fucking got rid of him the second that those stories came out that we talked about many, many times. Yeah. That he knew about all this shit for years and actually, like, was part of,
our favorite stories to tell.
And that he played part in keeping some of these people on teams and all this other bullshit. He should have been gone soon as those stories came out. I can't believe that he's still fucking there now. But I feel like this is the only way he's going to go down without a fight, at least until he retires. And granted, I don't know how old he is, but let's see. But yeah, so like,
It's gonna be very interesting. I feel like the landscape is officially gonna change forever as soon as these deals go through. If they do, I don't know. It really sounds like a monopoly. Um, with the Activision Blizzard thing, I really don't think they should be able to acquire that many fucking IPs at once. I just that
it's
I,
also going to be interesting to see because like I don't know what the FTC looks like in terms of like how its age skews, but I'm going to be interested to see if like many of the people on the panel even comprehend what this means. Like, sure, there's a lot of money being thrown around, like they can comprehend the number of dollars, but like outside of that, I don't know how all of them will kind of realize what any of this means. Like, I don't know.
they're gonna be like, that's a lot of money for that damn video games.
But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, plus also like I don't know. There's a whole lot of complicated shit with it. We'll see what happens. It's going to be, I think, a while until we know anything else. Oh, by the way, Bobby Kotick is 59. So at the earliest, if this deal doesn't go through, at the very least, he's going to stay there for another 6 years. So probably longer, but
I think it's funny because he could literally retire right now and not have to worry again about money.
dude probably could have retired like when Modern Warfare 2 came out and been fucking fine because dude gets like $150 million bonuses every year on top of his already absurd pay.
Nothing like getting paid $150 million to totally cover up sex scandals at your workplace.
Yeah, yeah, great.
It's fucking it's crazy.
I guess while we're here, we could get some more Activision news out of the way. This one relating to Call of Duty. Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone sequels coming later this year. No, not that Modern Warfare 2, a new one. This is by Austin Goslin over at Polygon. Before we get into the article, I still stand by the fact that this game should be called Modern Warfare 2 2. Modern Warfare, the number 2, and then next to it, the Roman numeral 2, because it's the second Modern Warfare 2. Package it, ship it, pay me $1 million for the marketing, and we're good. Okay, great.
Yeah, make it stop. Make it stop. I just don't. God, the fuck. Can you imagine? Well, Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2009. I only know that because of the relationship I was in at that time. But imagine knowing that 2009 you get Modern Warfare 2. Life is good. Playing Rust with the boys.
Hell yeah.
Whatever people did in that game. Getting Star 69 and Spec Ops and surviving the goddamn gauntlet. Or hexing your way to that final one. Whatever you prefer. And just imagine someone sits down and tells you, hey man, in the year 2022, there's going to be another Modern Warfare 2, and it's not going to be a remaster. It's like, I'd be like, no. So it feels like I'm living in a nightmare of horrible COD rehashes, and it's like at least Cold War and Vanguard had new thematic things to them. Like it wasn't Black Ops, or it wasn't Black Ops 2, or it wasn't just a remaster. It's actually them rebooting the goddamn name to make 1 and 2. I don't know. Like I said, I'm totally against it. That would be like making Black Ops and Black Ops 2, but it's not Black Ops 1 and 2.
I don't think they haven't confirmed that it's actually called Modern Warfare 2. They just said a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019.
God, it better be the end.
I'm just saying for the memes that they should call it Modern Warfare 2 2.
Modern Warfare 2 2. Well, when that box art gets unveiled, I'm just gonna Photoshop it and put Modern Warfare 2 2 and send it to you and be like, there you go.
Well, JP, here's my next marketing idea. And Activision, you better pay me another $1 million for this, and then you can keep it in the bank. Microsoft, actually, you can pay me a couple billion. I know you got them laying around. So here's what's going to happen. In another like 10, 15 years when they reboot Modern Warfare again, JP. Inevitably. No. Inevitably when that happens, right? And then they make a sequel to that game. It should be called Modern Warfare 222, and it'll be Modern Warfare number 2, Roman numeral 2, and then comma TOO. Package it, ship it. Activision, I'm gonna be waiting for my billions of dollars to show up on my doorstep any day now. I'm fucking ready for it, bro. Hire me as your fucking marketing lead. Your fucking chief marketing officer. I don't even know if that's a fucking position, but I'll accept the fucking position.
And since we got to see Price in every single goddamn era of Call of Duty, we got to see him as a middle-aged old man. We got to see him as a young, fresh old man, going into the Middle Ages of what would be the normal timeline of Modern Warfare. Yeah, it gets really fucking confusing. And then you know what? In this third rehash of this crap, we gotta have him as an old man, and he's got to be in a nursing home, and they got to be like, "Sir, before you go in there, there's one thing you must know." Oh, what's that? He says only one word. What's that? Soap. What? And then it'd just be him literally in the room, the sponge walls and everything going, soap, 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 soap.
Soap, soap, soap.
Hey.
Either that, or maybe by the time that reboot comes out, in modern times, cyborgs will be the norm. So maybe they could just make Captain Price a cyborg.
They'll just open the door and it'll be all black, and then you just see an old man slowly creep out going,
So,
"Hey, Mr. Price, I got you your breakfast. Are you hungry?" Sorry. All right, he's ready to eat. Just I can't imagine. I really do feel bad for Infinity Ward. I really do, because I feel like they're now going to be stuck in this constant cycle of, damn guys, we can't make a great original game to save our lives. So I think what we need to do is we need to break out Old Faithful to show us Modern Warfare. It's like, no, please don't do it again.
I honestly think they could. I just think that I don't really know what the problem with Ghosts was, honestly.
I think it was it's time. They just need to make a second.
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, you know what? I think we talked about this before. Well, actually, I know I talked to you about in text, but they need to literally just they'll make a new Ghost game, but since they need to have Modern Warfare to make sales, it has to be called Modern Warfare Ghost, and that'll be Ghost 2. It'll just be disguised as Modern Warfare.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily, but I think that box art would just be like, that would be too much if it was like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Ghosts 2 or something like that. I don't know.
It's just gonna be Modern Warfare Ghosts. And then for some reason, they're probably gonna tie it all together and bring Captain Price in for another goddamn era.
Sorry.
He's just, and they're gonna have him with. And they're gonna have him with it. Yeah, actually, yeah, they're gonna have him with Soap, like Riley or whatever the fuck it is, the damn dog, and he'll be like, "Hey, what's your name?" "Well, that's Riley, but we just call him Soap." "Did you just say Soap?"
"Did you just say fucking Soap?"
They're gonna be like, "Guys, what can we possibly do to walk into something new, but something that they've already experienced?" Well, we gotta have Captain Price introduced, and when Soap is a damn dog, he's gonna go Soap.
They just start naming all their Ghosts 2. There's just a whole pack of dogs, and they're just all named after Modern Warfare characters. It's like, all right, well, that's Ghost, that's Riley, that's Price, that's Soap, that's Gaz over there, that's Sergeant Wallcroft.
That's like, oh, okay. Over there in the corner. It's just gonna be like,
it's like, yeah, that guy is Shepherd. It's like, well, yeah, he's a German Shepherd. That makes sense.
He'd be like, "Well, last time I saw you guys, you were alive and well on the battlefield." And then there's Sarb. I just, yeah, they are in desperate need of something.
Listen, as long as it's not Infinite Warfare 2, I think we'll be okay.
Oh God. I'd be like, you know what, Microsoft, you could have it. Just take it. Don't even push it even near me. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, I think really what they are in need of doing something new with the series, and they cannot, for the love of God, make another straight Modern Warfare game. It has to be Ghost 2. But it's gonna have to be disguised as Modern Warfare Ghosts, because people won't buy it if it says Ghost 2. I don't know it. At that point,
I would buy a Ghost 2 just because I want to say they would, like, honestly, if I had to guess, and I have no fucking information on this, I think probably what happened with Ghosts is they realized that they were like, hey, this is going to be cross-gen, like, what can we do with the next-gen consoles? And, like, I think they built it for next-gen in the sense that it was very ambitious, very big multiplayer maps, because I think they were hoping that they would be able to fit, like, a lot more people on the maps than they actually ever did, like maybe 12v12 or something like that. And then I think when they actually got they built the game around that, and then I think once they actually got the PS4 and Xbox One dev kits, they were like, oh, yeah, this isn't gonna work. But it was too late in development to actually change anything, so they were like, fuck, we're kind of fucked, aren't we?
And then they got hacked on day one. Everyone had 999.
Dude, I had unlimited squad points on day fucking one. That ruined the whole fucking progression system for that game, because I had no reason to fucking try to do anything, because I just had everything unlocked.
I just think Ghost 2 needs to fucking happen. It has literally been almost 10 goddamn years since we had Ghost. Grant, they tried things. A lot of things worked. A lot of things didn't. Michael Myers had a fucking axe. That was strange. There was a lot of questionable things that happened during the Ghost cycle. And I liked it. I did. It's just it fell short because it was too ambitious and it fell apart. But if they could just keep it together, make a Modern Warfare title and just call it Ghosts, and then all they need to do is just continue the goddamn storyline from Ghost, because I need to know what happens to Rourke. And our character that literally is in a cage, and that's it.
The ending of that campaign still pissed me off. But JP,
like, wow.
JP, we've gone quite far off the rails. So let's bring it back in. We'll talk about Modern Warfare 2, as I like to call it. A sequel to 2019's Call of Duty Modern Warfare will be the next entry in the shooter franchise, Activision announced on Friday. This is a hot piece of news just dropped earlier today. The game is being developed by Infinity Ward alongside a follow-up to Call of Duty's popular free-to-play battle royale game Warzone. The Modern Warfare sequel is set to launch in late 2022, sticking to Activision's normal release schedule for the series. We don't yet know what the game will be called, but if Infinity Ward follows the model from Modern Warfare, this would be the studio's second game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The last one came out in 2009 as a sequel to 2007's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Good luck keeping this all straight. The game and the new Warzone experience, which seems to be a full-scale sequel to the existing Battle Royale game, are being, quote, designed together from the ground up. Activision said in a blog post. Both games will run on the same engine, a new one, and will be made by Infinity Ward. The Warzone follow-up, which the announcement describes as a massive evolution of Battle Royale, will feature an all-new play space and a new sandbox mode. Development of the new Warzone is being headed up by Infinity Ward. It's unclear what the role of the current developer of Warzone, Raven Software, is doing for the game. The announcement post did not specify a release window for the Warzone follow-up, but it only mentioned 2022, suggesting that it will be out before the end of the year. So not much information to go on from that article. There was a whole lot of shit happening on Charlie Intel today. A lot of the YouTubers actually got to sit down with the devs yesterday, and they did a whole roundtable discussion about not necessarily Modern Warfare. Like, they just kind of sprinkled the Modern Warfare 2 part in there. They were just like, oh yeah, the next game's going to be a sequel to Modern Warfare. Whatever. We're talking mostly about Warzone right now. But essentially, they kind of... It was interesting. Like, I kind of wish the developers would do this more, where they had people from Raven there and they had people from Infinity Ward there, and they talked a little bit about the problems plaguing the current Warzone and what they're doing to fix that stuff, and then also what, things they're addressing in the future of the franchise in general in Warzone 2, and they kind of explained a lot of stuff. Some of the interesting things that I read through that I remember is that they kind of said that the reason that Warzone is so broken a lot of the time is because the game file is just so the game directory is just so fucking bloated, because the game was never built to be this like thing that integrated across multiple games. It was literally just meant to be like a side thing for Modern Warfare, and they kind of figured it would just exist for a couple months and then that would be it. And then yeah, and then it blew up and they were like, oh well, we gotta fucking do something about this. So it was never meant to like actually include all these other Call of Duty games in it, and then like it wasn't built for that. It wasn't, and then they talked about how there was a lot of a lot of different things where, like, they talked about how, what the fuck am I thinking about? How, like, after they added the weapons from Cold War, that then the game didn't feel like Modern Warfare anymore, but it also didn't feel like Black Ops. And so essentially what they talked about was moving forward, every Call of Duty game will be on the new Modern Warfare engine, and that is what's going to help the games integrate better with Warzone and to, make it a lot more seamless and all this other stuff. And I mean, that's a great idea when it comes to Warzone. I personally don't. I mean, I love graphically and animation wise the new Modern Warfare engine, but like, it feels too slow. And I know that's stuff that they can tweak on a gameplay level, but
Vanguard definitely did it better than all of them. Like that engine just fits.
oh, that's Vanguard's definitely better than Modern Warfare, but even still, like, I still prefer the feeling of the Treyarch engine, like Cold War and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be interested to see what happens with that. I don't know. For people that really like Warzone, I mean, it seems like they're really actually listening to player concerns and stuff like that, which is great. Hopefully, they also put the same care into multiplayer when it comes to Modern Warfare 2.2.
Sorry.
Another thing that they addressed, which a lot of people were pissed off about, was the field of view slider. So Modern Warfare and Warzone do not have a field of view slider on console, but it does on PC. But the game has crossplay enabled, so essentially PC has this distinct advantage when you're playing against PC players. And they talked about that because people have been asking for an FOV slider for so long, and they had not promised it, but they had said months ago, like before the Vanguard integration. It was honestly, I think, around the Cold War integration, somewhere around there, when not the Cold War integration, but I think around when the new Cold War map came out, when they did Wars, what the fuck was it called, Verdansk 84 or whatever. Around there, they had said that they were looking into adding a field of view slider to the console version of the game, and then no update since then. And that was like, I want to say like June-ish, somewhere around there. Well, it turns out they spoke about it today, and they kind of gave like a bullshit answer a little bit. They were like, one answer totally made sense, which was that the majority of their players play on last-gen consoles. It's literally like 75+% of their audience. They said that basically adding a field of view slider to Warzone would essentially be like adding a setting that says how to drop your frame rate. Like, they're basically saying that the game would perform so bad when you turned up the FOV slider on last gen consoles that it wouldn't be fair to implement it because your game would perform that badly.
I gotta admit though, this is definitely the way that this nicks a lot of people, making next gen only, because clearly this has to be a next gen only thing, or it has to be.
Yeah, Warzone 2 most likely will be. If I had to guess.
I just can't wait to see all the people cry. It's gonna be great.
But then people brought up like, well, okay, then why can't you just add the field of view slider to next gen consoles? And they were like, well, we don't want anybody to have an unfair advantage. And everybody's like, but it's literally already on PC, and they already have an unfair advantage. And they were just like, yeah, that's a great point. And then they fucking went on to the next part of the conversation.
Well, I'm glad that they at least admitted it. I was waiting for them to be like, what are you talking about? What'd you talk about, Wills? It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, Warzone 2, I mean, it's gonna be just, I don't even know. I'm just ready for people to go get fucked and just get a next gen console, or at least sit there and wait to get one. Because I mean, it's at the point now where you're already starting to see the whole divide now off power, because everybody wants to be on the same scale, and it's not gonna happen. It just like Grand Theft Auto, with the new one come out, everybody's like, oh, I can still play with PS5 players. They're like, no, bud, that's not how this works. And clearly it wouldn't, because my game would work and yours would not. We're not the same, especially if we played the Pay-Waco heist. Oh man, that would easily weed people out, because they wouldn't be able to play. The frame rate is just...
Well, the thing that fucking sucks is that it's actually getting arguably harder to buy a next gen console now, because Sony is having to cut their production because they don't have the parts. So they were originally predicting to ship, I think, like 19 million PS5s this year, and they cut it once already, which we talked about on the show previously, and they just recently cut that like production value in half. So now they're only predicting to ship like 15 million PS5s by the end of the year when they wanted to originally do 19, and it's like shit is really bad right now. Like a lot of people, even if they wanted a next gen console, they could not.
Yeah,
So
it's just it's getting to the point where there's a clear distinction. I know people want to do all this cross gen play and cross play, but the clear indicator is it's at the point now where these are going to be two different games. I mean, optimization, frame rate, field of view slider. Um, it's just there's gonna have to be a divide just because you can't help that the old consoles are fucking atrocious compared to like a PS4 to a PS5 is honestly like comparing a fucking baby apple to a full apple. It's definitely not
I mean, yeah, the power jump is pretty significant.
power
I
is
mean,
just
it almost always is, but like it
now really.
especially doesn't help that the PS4 and the Xbox Ones when they came out were already pretty underpowered. Like I'm not exactly sure why, like what happened there, but yeah, the PS4 and Xbox Ones were already pretty outdated when they came out. So now that we actually have consoles that are like on the not on around they are kind of on the cutting edge of hardware, like in certain ways. So it's nice to actually have consoles that are like right up there and not already out of date as soon as they come out. But all right, let's see. Where should we go next, JP? Where should we go next? Let's go. Wolf Among Us 2. The Wolf Among Us 2 has a new trailer, 2023 release window. The fairy tale inspired thriller returns. This is by Cass Marshall over at Polygon. The Wolf Among Us 2, the unlikely sequel to Telltale Games' mystery drama, is now set to be released in 2023. A new trailer gives us a look at the protagonist, Bigby Wolf, and what he's up to these days. Wolf is both a private investigator and a werewolf who navigates a world of dysfunctional fairy tales. The Wolf Among Us is based off the Fables comic book series and takes place in the New York neighborhood of Fabletown. In 2019, LCG Entertainment resurrected Telltale after the studio's collapse the year prior and revitalized the project. The Wolf Among Us 2 is now in development with Ad Hoc Studio, which is made up by previous Telltale employees, including developers from the original Wolf Among Us. Directors Nick Herman and Dennis Lennart, writer Pierre Charette, and composer Jared Emerson Johnson, and voice actors Adam Harrington and Aaron Yvette are all set to return for the project. The Wolf Among Us, a Telltale game series, took place over 5 chapters, which were released over the course of 2013 and 2014. A sequel was in the works at Telltale before it was canceled. This iteration is a new project. The developer has been tight-lipped on the progress so far, and this is the first substantial update fans have received since a text statement on Twitter in 2020. The studio is also working on a narrative story in the Expanse universe, starring fan favorite Kamina Drummer. So, GP, do you have any thoughts on that? Have you played The Wolf Among Us? Are you excited that Telltale's back?
Well, you bet your ass I played The Wolf Among Us. God, man, I'm glad Telltale's back, and I'm glad they're taking the directions that they already should have that led to the collapse of the goddamn company. As long as they learn their lessons and they optimize the engine and give you a hell of a lot more to do, kind of like the Dark Picture games, except Telltale. As long as they do something like that, I think we're in good shape, and I'm glad Telltale's back. I cannot wait to play The Wolf Among Us because literally that's another game I've been waiting a good 10 years for. Call of Duty Ghost, please make it happen. But The Wolf Among Us 2 is one I've been waiting for a while, and it's going to be 10 goddamn years until it comes out.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy knowing, like, I just known so many people that like died that were waiting for that to come out, and it's kind of just surreal to me knowing that it's going to happen, and they've been dead for years. It's kind of weird, but I know it's going to be good. God, The Wolf Among Us, I think, was the most extreme Telltale game they've ever fucking made. I mean, it's just so off the wall and in Fabletown and everything,
Yeah.
Um, I guess from here, I would like to see a season 3 of Batman.
Yeah, I really like the Batman ones.
I would like to see Telltale Games do Saw. I think that would be a really damn good option. It's
That
just
would be interesting.
you want to see something new, because the problem with Telltale games in the beginning was it was the same shit, just a different formula.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really led to their collapse. They didn't evolve with all these projects. They virtually all stayed the same. They were on the same end.
Definitely.
Um, so now that they're finally doing something and they have new engines and optimization, I think you're going to see a rebirth and it's going to be really good. It's just,
I just hope they avoid the issue that they had last time where they took on way too many projects at a time
yeah,
and then they were all rushed out the door.
yeah,
So hopefully they can avoid that. But if they
yeah,
do and they take their time and, maybe work on one, maybe two games at a time and kind of keep a consistent schedule with that, I think they'll do some great stuff.
yeah. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to see just what is exactly happening. Um,
Yeah.
like I'm really just excited to see where they're going to go from here. And I just hope they don't make the same mistakes that they originally did, which I don't think will happen. It's a new studio with former people from Telltale, so they should know how to tell when the cracks are showing, when there's a problem that should be
Yeah.
dealt with. So yeah, we'll definitely see.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. I think this might actually be the first Telltale game, if I buy it at launch, which I probably will. I think it might be the first one that I actually play one episode when it comes out, then wait. Because normally I buy them after they're all already out, and then I play it all in one go.
I don't blame
So
you. Yeah, the wait time for those was really just fucking bad. Some of them were atrocious. That
yeah,
was when a lot of the problems started, when things were getting delayed on projects that were promised. I don't know. It was just a fucking disaster. So I'm glad they found themselves again. I just hope they don't lose themselves on top of it.
yeah. All right, JP, we got two more news stories, and then we can get out of here. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 should get a reveal later this year. The 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII is cause for celebration and new announcements. This is by Austin Goslin over at Polygon. This year is the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII's release in Japan, and Square Enix is celebrating everything about the game, including its new and upcoming entries. During an anniversary livestream on Monday, Yoshinori Kitase, I apologize if I butchered that, the director of the original Final Fantasy VII, said that the company even plans to reveal Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 sometime later this year. This event already discussed the recently released Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, as well as a few mentions of the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, but the livestream itself didn't contain anything new about Remake's next chapter. Instead, Kitase said, quote, "We just started the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, so we want to celebrate and get fans excited. So within the next 12 months, we want to share some information. Look forward to more information," according to the translation from push.in provided to VGC. Alongside the stream, Kitase and Final Fantasy VII Remake creative director Tetsuya Nomura released statements thanking the community for their continued support of the Final Fantasy VII universe and their excitement about the series' upcoming titles. Unfortunately, no one from the livestream provided any information on when this reveal might arrive, and we still don't have any idea when Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 will actually release. Final Fantasy VII Remake was released in April 2020, nearly 5 years after it was first announced on PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 5 version of the game and its expanded integrated release arrived the following year. Square Enix later brought Remake to Windows PC via the Epic Games Store. So, definitely exciting news if you were a fan of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, which I was personally. I still have yet to play the original game all the way through. It was on, I don't know if it still is. I know it was on PlayStation Now when I started it. Didn't finish it though. I only played for like an hour or two. But yeah, I really loved Remake. The only thing that I didn't like about Remake was its stupid fucking trophy list and the hard difficulty bullshit that I went through with it. But, I mean, other than that, excluding that bullshit, I mean, it was a great game, a great story, looked beautiful, played great, and I'm definitely excited for Remake Part 2. So, but knowing Square, they'll announce it this year, and then, I mean, like the article said, it was announced 5 years before it released on PS4, so I have a bad feeling we're going to be waiting a while to actually play it, but we'll see what happens. And JP, the final article. I didn't expect to be getting an update to this story, but apparently it needs to be talked about. Apparently needs to be talked about, GP.
Apparently, what was that?
So if you remember, GP, I believe one of the first episodes of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast, GP, we talked about the confusing upgrade path for Horizon Forbidden West, because originally PlayStation had announced that it was a free upgrade from PS4 to PS5. Then they were trying to charge you money for it, remember?
Oh, yep.
And then people called them out, and then they backtracked on it, promised it would be free, but then said future titles after Forbidden West, it would be a $10 upgrade fee. Great. Apparently, that wasn't the end of the story, because we have an update right here, JP.
Oh, God.
This article from Polygons says, save $10 on Horizon Forbidden West by buying the PS4 version. The PS5 version is $69.99. Those who purchase Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation 4 will get access to a free upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version of the game, Sony Interactive CEO Jim Ryan said in September. As such, it appears that the PS4 version of the game is secretly the cheapest way to buy it, since the PS5 version costs $10 more. One big caveat, of course, is that we only have the CEO's words to go on. Meanwhile, the description of the two versions of the game on Sony's own storefront are a bit confusing. Sony is offering a PS4 version of Horizon Forbidden West for $59.99, while the one listed for PS5 costs $69.99. Both products indicate that they are compatible with both platforms. By pre-ordering the PS4 version, available by scrolling down to the pre-order boxes lower on the page, you'll be able to access the PS5 upgrade per Ryan's promise last year. As The Verge points out, the listing on Sony's website mentions the version working only on PS4, but a bullet point above the box implies that it works on the new console too. This could mean that the PS4 version of the game will work on PS5 consoles in backwards compatibility mode, i.e. not the PS5 upgraded and optimized version. This confusion extends to the information on Horizon Forbidden West's FAQ page, which still says that, quote, dual entitlement does not apply to the standard and special editions, where the phrase, quote, dual entitlement refers to buyers being able to access both the PS4 and PS5 versions. We've reached out to Sony for clarification. Another curious issue, you'll have to buy the digital version of the game on the Sony website or through the PlayStation app, as it isn't visible on the PS5's own digital storefront, according to The Verge. Sony's whole approach to its upgrade path for Horizon Forbidden West has been confusing, to say the least. In September, Sony announced there was no upgrade path for PS4 to PS5, despite suggesting that these would always be free. Days later, the company reversed course and decided that it could, after all, give players the upgrade for free. Future games, though, including March's Gran Turismo 7, will still have the $10 upgrade fee. So, JP, this sounds like a whole fucking load of bullshit, if you ask me.
Sounds like they can't make up their goddamn minds. I mean, they're literally on record saying it, so why don't they just fucking do it?
This is the second time they're on record saying it, and it seems like they still haven't fixed it in the back end. Maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's an accident, I don't know. I don't think something this big would be an accident, but
maybe they could just make it a 1-year exclusivity from the release and just cut their losses. That way they're still doing it, but they're still not keeping it going. I don't fucking know what the hell they're doing. It's just it's
but it's just like, as much as I love PlayStation, it's like I gotta give it to fucking Microsoft on this, that it's like literally they don't even have to have a term for dual entitlement or anything like that. I mean, they have a term, I guess. It's called smart delivery. But literally, you buy one game, you will always get, no matter what console you're playing on, it's just one game. You don't have to worry about, is this the PS4 version? Is this the Xbox version? Does this one cost more? Does this one cost less? I mean, for third-party developers, I think they do still charge $70 for the Xbox Series X version, but like, you'll automatically get the Xbox One version too, and you'll only be able to install it if you're playing on an Xbox One, but like, it's just so much simpler on the Xbox side. And granted, like, yes, all their games are on Game Pass, but even if you decide to buy their games, their upgrades are free. So it's just, I don't know. It's way more confusing than it needs to be, and I wish PlayStation would just fucking do what they said they were going to do and make this one free. You can make the rest $10, whatever. But this whole thing is so fucking dumb. Like, the fact that this is a problem and the game literally comes out in a week from today and people still don't know which version they should pre-order if they want both versions. It's stupid. Like,
I want both fucking versions right now.
The fact that this problem still exists is stupid. And the fact that there's no direct clarification and that the different, like, depending on where you look at the listing, it's different and says different things about if it's backwards compatibility, if it's the actual PS5 version, like Sony, get your shit together, dude. Like, it's not that hard. Like, you said it was free, make it free. You could charge $10 for all the other ones if you want, but like,
it's just, oh man, I don't even know what the hell they're gonna do. I mean, they should just do it and just make it timed or something, just so they could say, "Oh, we did it! Oh, we did it! Oh, we did it! We did it!" But yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. I cannot even believe there has to be a reclarification of that. I don't even know. It's at the point where I wish they just would have played the usual game developer that we hear you but we don't give a shit by not bringing it up ever again, and then deleting all the evidence of it. I mean, like hell, but I mean, Black Ops 4, when they decide to gamble all their fucking eggs and everything with Blackout, they edited the season pass details without anyone knowing. And I still, well, I did have the thing, I got rid of it, but they edited the season pass thing saying 4 original maps to 4 maps, and they were like, well, remasters a map, there you go. It's just, I don't know.
no, I'm glad that, like, when they, when people called out their bullshit, I'm glad that they responded, but now it looks like they were like, hey, like you said, like, hey, we hear you, but we're not listening. So it's like, you can't say something's free, come out and say it's not free, then be like, oh, hey, sorry, yeah, it's free again, and then still try to charge for it. Like, this is now the third time that or the second time that they've got caught trying to charge for this thing that they promised would be free. And like, if they had never said it was going to be free and people just assumed that, great, but they said it was going to be a free upgrade.
Yep, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm glad they acknowledged it, but Activision's really good at doing that. They'll be like, "Oh, we listened to you," and well, I gotta say, not Activision. Activision does it. Every game company does it, but the one game company that I think does it the most is EA. Yeah, we care about our fans. What? They're saying?
I don't even think EA like gives off the fucking like. I don't even think they try to fucking make people believe that they care, because it's blatantly obvious. If you listen to anything or like think about anything that EA does for longer than like 5 seconds, you could think of 10 examples of them absolutely doing the complete opposite of what fans want. The only possible example I could think of them actually listening to fans was when they removed all the microtransactions from Star Wars Battlefront, and that's only because they were hemorrhaging stock money because of how fucking horrible all that shit went down.
They're hemorrhaging. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, hearing all that stuff about this whole go around it's just, oh man. I kind of wish they just did what a lot of companies do. They just don't give a shit. They don't care, or they edit things under your nose, and they're like, well, that's the policy now. It's like the Black Ops 4 season pass. That was a very good example of that. We listen to our fans. Oh, yep. Oh, did you guys change the season pass? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the other thing that pisses me off too is, like, I mean, we talked about it before, but just to recontextualize it, unless I'm mistaken, and I could turn on my PS5 to check.
Oh god. Oh no.
Hang on. Apparently my controller's dead. If I remember correctly, there's some weird crap with this with Horizon where it's I'm pretty sure you only get, at least digitally, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way physically, you only get their dual entitlement bullshit thing, whatever they want to call it, on certain versions of the game. So like, I think there's only one digital version of the game that will give you the PS4 and PS5 version. So there's the PS4 version for 60, the PS5 for 70. Then I think there's a cross-gen bundle or some kind of bullshit like that for 80 or something like that. And then there's a digital deluxe, which doesn't get you cross-gen or some weird shit like that. I'm pretty sure it's like that. At least I know the physical version of the Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm pretty sure is like that. Where you have to buy the physical version for your specified console or something weird like that. It's some bullshit. So let's see here. Apparently my controller has to do a software update. So, all right, PlayStation Store. This is some A-quality podcasting content right here of me searching through the PlayStation Store. Horizon Forbidden West. Okay, so now it shows that for the standard edition on PS5, the $70 gets you both the PS5 and PS4 version. The digital deluxe edition also gets you, excuse me, for $80 also gets you the PS4 and PS5 version. And then let me see what they were talking about. Well, actually, I'm going to look at it on my phone because I can't. If I look at it on the web store, it's going to mess up the whole podcast view. So let me look at it on my phone now.
The whole podcast just goes down and you go, well, guys, that's the final episode of this podcast. We'll see you next week. The whole thing just crashes out.
So let's see. Horizon. Nope, that's not how you spell Horizon. Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, so on the standard edition, it says $60. It says PS4, and then there is a bullet point that says full game edition includes full game PS4, Horizon Forbidden West PS5 digital version upgrade at no extra cost. So it specifically says digital version upgrade. So that makes me think literally if you're buying the standard edition of the game, you literally might as well just buy it on the PlayStation app for $10 cheaper.
It's funny how you can buy on the PlayStation app and it trumps the store.
That's the shady thing about this is that if you're actually going to buy it on PS5, which is where most, I would say 95% of people who are going to buy this game digitally on PS5 are going to just be scrolling through the PlayStation Store on their PS5 and see it and buy it. Whereas they could literally save $10 if they just did it on the app or on the web page. Which that's the other shady thing is that you literally can't find the PS4 version on the PS5 store. So that's really fucking shady to me, to be honest with you.
The fuck? This is crazy.
But a very, very weird and shady thing that PlayStation is doing here, indeed. I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, that's how it is. Hopefully, there's some clarification from Sony. I mean, that article is a couple days old, and they didn't have any update to it, so I don't think Sony's going to come out and say anything. I mean, of course, it behooves them to not clarify it because people are going to be worried and be like, oh, I'm going to spend the extra $10 just in case because I want the PS5 and PS4 versions, definitely. So I'm sure that's what they're banking on, but we'll see what happens. I mean, even me, like, right now, like, I'm going to pre-order the game probably at some point this week. And even me, I'm thinking, like, well, what if I get fucked and then now I only have the PS4 version and can only play it in backwards compatibility mode?
And they'll be like, well, you see here in this contract, when you settled this transaction, here's your receipt. Yep.
Well, that's the thing is then, like, I'd be fucked because then I don't know because I don't know, whatever. It's stupid. The whole thing is dumb. Hopefully Sony clarifies this before the game launches, but I have a feeling that they won't, unfortunately. But we will have to wait until next week to see what happens. Guys, I hope you enjoyed your double header of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast this week. A ton of news stories, a ton of gaming that we talked about here. But we'll be back on our normal schedule next week with the HexxedPhenom Gamescast. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast. Of course, it is the show that brings you the video game news you need to know each and every week. And until next time, guys, have a phenomenal week.